and today I am delighted to have as my guest this new superintendent, Dr. Mark Shanoff, and I want to appreciate you being here also. School's about to start up again, and I want to let you know that we're all united in doing everything we possibly can to ensure your children are safe. Although it's highly unlikely, our school resource officers have spent several days specifically training for the worst case scenario, a school shooter. I can assure you that if something like that happens here in Osceola County, my deputies are going to go in, confronting the gunman right away. We'll not be setting up or staging. We'll be running towards the threat and engaging the threat immediately. To help make sure we get to the school shooters as quickly as possible, the Sheriff's Office has also created a new real-time crime center where we can plug into the camera feeds in our schools, and this will help us identify and very quickly locate where the shooter is so we can get there and eliminate that threat. We're also going to be testing a new gun detection system in the school this year. It's a partnership with the school system. We'll be installing software that helps detect the presence of a gun and alerts us directly. If we get an alert, we can notify our school resource officers, deputies at the schools immediately, and then dispatch additional units. This technology will hopefully help prevent things from happening before they even start. These are just some of the precautions we're taking to prepare for the absolute nightmare scenario, which is an active shooter. But the training the school resource officers receive isn't just about active shooters. We update our deputies with annual new intelligence or training tactics and techniques. We go over the juvenile citation program and train them on when a citation is appropriate instead of affecting an arrest. The SROs learn rules, responsibilities, and expectations by going over a lot of the school rules and agreements. The SROs will also be trained on shields and body-worn cameras. I believe body cameras are important. Since I took office, I have ensured all members of my patrol agency have body cameras. We have also issued cameras to all our SROs assigned to the high schools. We're currently planning to add additional 75 cameras so we can start getting them into the middle schools and the elementaries, and of course eventually send them out to all our specialty units. I'll ensure that every deputy doing proactive police work will be utilizing these body cameras for transparency. Again, these are just a few of the areas our SROs will be fully trained in prior to meeting your children at the schools this year. We're very proud of the dedication of our deputies who are receiving all this training. We'll keep working diligently through the year to ensure all students in Osceola County are safe. We want all kids to have an environment where they focus strictly on learning and not fear, and the teachers can also focus on teaching and not have to worry about anything happening in the schools. I want to thank the Osceola County School District and Dr. Shanoff for their partnership, not only for the use of the schools where we've been doing realistic training, but for everything they do throughout the year. We're looking forward to continue our anti-bullying campaign, Cookies with the Croc. We're all excited to help this school year become a success so your kids can learn. We also are excited about our new JUMP program, and we're going to be initiating that, and we're going to be meeting with the doctor to talk about how we can implement it in the schools and help maximize kids' potential and try to correct them before they start going on that path that leads them into the jail or a disruptive lifestyle. So I'm going to turn the podium over to the doctor, and then we're going to see a video. You didn't bring a big old thing like I did, did you?
No, Sheriff. Good morning, and thank you, Sheriff Lopez, and thank you to the Sheriff's Department for providing this opportunity. There is nothing more important to me as the new leader of Osceola County Schools and to our senior staff and our administrators than the safety and security of our students. There are two social contracts that are critically important with the public. One exists between the public and law enforcement, and the other exists between school and the public. So because of that, it's critically important that we work together to maintain the public trust and ensure that our students are safe every day, every class, all throughout the year. I want to say that our students, the most important thing for them is to be safe on our campus. It is our primary responsibility, more so than student achievement. We want to make sure that our students have the environment in which they can feel safe. We want to make sure that our students have an environment in which they can grow and flourish and be engaged in the critical learning opportunities that our great teachers will present to them. We're looking forward to a great year. I'm looking forward to visiting all of our campuses in Osceola County Schools. And I want to thank our SROs not just with the Osceola County Sheriff's Office, but also with the City of St. Cloud, the City of Kissimmee, for the work that they do that doesn't necessarily have to do with safety, but the proactive policing, the relationship building that our SROs do on a daily basis with our students is critical to solidifying that trust that exists between law enforcement, schools, and our community. Thank you.
Notice those are guardians right there. They get the same training we're getting. So there's no difference. When they have to react to the threat, they're going to do just like we do. So you don't have to think there's any fear of this because the guardians in the school, they're not going to react the same way. And they're passing these same training programs. Did you say that online? Yes. Ready? What do y'all think? Active, pretty realistic. You can see some of the deputies as they're going through and listen to the shots. They flinch because it's really loud and it sounds like a real gunshot. If you notice in the video, there's guardians there. And they're getting the same training we're getting. And a lot of those guardians are military veterans, retired law enforcement, SWAT trained, that want to continue to serve and continue to earn some type of a salary while they work. But they don't just do it for that. They're here because they really care. And they're passing the same exact type of trainings that we put on our law enforcement officers. And a lot of them, the guardians have to be a lot more proficient when they use their firearm to pass that portion of it. We want people to make sure that we're training, we're continuing this training throughout the year. And you see it's one deputy on one. As soon as they hear that shooting, they run to the threat. And we also have that real-time crime center where We have schools, cameras in the schools where it can zone in where this individual is, and that's how we start guiding officers to that area, and we start communicating with the school to start locking the area down because this guy is in this side of the campus. So it's really good, the technologies that are coming in, and the gun detection technology. We're going to be revealing that a little bit later on down the road. We're going to have a meeting with the superintendent and the school board. Gun detection is important. We've been trying it out. Not a lot of schools are using it. It's artificial intelligence. We tried it out at the fair, and I want to say we had about a 93, 94% detection rate, and most of it was law enforcement officers just walking in, and that's really good. And if anybody's familiar with active shooters, the first thing they do is they're in front of that door, they pull it out of their backpack and start walking on campus, and that's where our main gun detection systems are going to be, to focus on those threats that are, they're pretty bold. Just to say, here I go, I'm coming in, and we can lock that school down just as fast. And as school resource officers are immediately going straight to the threat and communicating, plus the real-time crime center activating the cameras. It's a process that's going to really improve response time in case we have to deal with anything like this. It's amazing, the technologies and how they work.
How does this training differ from just normal officer training or deputy training? And kind of part two of that, how does this, because we all know that shooters don't just go to schools, how does this carry over into just regular deputy life?
Well, the training that we're implementing in the schools is going to be the same training most officers receive. However, we're a little bit more detailed here, and we get that SRO, that one-on-one experience and that realistic environment on what he potentially can deal with. So he psychologically prepares himself, sir, I'm alone. There is no backup. I'm on the radio communicating, but God knows where they're coming from. You as an individual are responsible to take this threat. And if you don't want to do that, then we don't need you as a school resource officer. And every school resource officer you see here, and those are the guardians, they are willing to do this, and they're really excited when they get this training. And throughout the year, we're reinforcing this type of training, their firearms proficiency, and we're constantly updating them. They really familiarize themselves with the schools. It's a big process that really works well, and adding all these technologies and all these realistic scenarios is really going to minimize the threat. I don't know what other schools do, but it's all individual based on the way the law enforcement agency wants to do it. But partnering with the school board and the doctor, I think we're just going to accomplish a lot of good things this year.
¿Nos puede hablar un poco sobre el programa de detención de armas dentro de las escuelas?
Esto mismo. Básicamente, nosotros ahora estamos implementando unos entrenamientos más estrictos para que el oficial, como ustedes ven aquí, cuando él oiga un tirador activo en la escuela, inmediatamente va a atacar e intentar matarlo. No vamos a esperar que venga alguien, no vamos a llamar por el radio, mira, necesito ayuda. No, ellos inmediatamente van a identificar la amenaza, voy a tal área a matar a esta persona. Ahora, estamos utilizando un sistema de tecnología con las cámaras que va a identificar de inmediato dónde está la amenaza, y también estamos implementando una inteligencia artificial que reconoce las armas de fuego cuando las están sacando o están andando en la escuela con ellas, para ayudar a minimizar un tirador activo a poder potencialmente matar niños.
Mi pregunta es si esto va a ser implementado en todas las escuelas y cómo se diferencia lo que están haciendo este año con lo que hicieron el año pasado.
El entrenamiento es un poquito más intenso. Todos los años que pasan vamos a implementar tácticas nuevas, que así se aprende. Es como una evolución. Y la evolución de inteligencia artificial es lo que estamos tratando más este año para utilizarlo más, para reconocer y atacar esas amenazas súper más rápido. O sea que esas cámaras dicen, mira, el tiroteo fue aquí. Prendemos las cámaras y con esa tecnología que identifica el sonido de la bala y la arma de fuego, ahí es la amenaza. Aunque él tire el arma de fuego, lo van a ver corriendo. Y ahí el oficial va directamente ahí y empieza a cesar para matar a la persona.
¿Y esto va a estar inmediatamente implementado en todas las escuelas desde que comience
Lo de la reconoción de las armas de fuego, estamos empezando esa tecnología en par de escuelas para tratarlo, a ver cómo funciona. Pero por ahora estamos con esto y estamos empezando a introducir esa tecnología nueva.
¿Saben cuántas escuelas más o menos?
Me gustaría en todas, pero hay un costo. So, vamos ahora a hacer una presentación a los superintendentes de la escuela para ver si aceptan para dividir ese costo entre todas las agencias que están envueltas.
Sheriff, you said this is a very realistic training, and like you said, your SROs, they're alone. They don't know when that backup is coming for them. So tell me, how important is it to simulate that realistic training? Like you said, it's loud in there. The deputies, they tense up when they hear those, simulated gunshots. So tell me how important it is to make sure it is as realistic as possible.
I think psychologically, you can talk yourself into things, and as law enforcement officers, we base our lives on scenarios that go through our minds over and over again as we're going to a call of a robbery. Does this guy have a gun? Does he have the gun? Weapon implied, not seen. So all of us get into that scenario mindset. Now here, we have the scenario mindset on how we're going to react. Just implementing this type of training where the guns are flying and they hurt, the pellets that they shoot. And it's just so realistic. You got people screaming, people running. It's chaotic. It's set up to cause confusion for the deputy. Because now you got someone screaming, running at you. What about if that's the killer? What about if that's the guy who has the gun? He just hit it out of sight, and he runs screaming at you, and now he just shot you and killed you. So those are the scenarios we're putting in their minds and in their brains. That just because there's someone running towards you, it doesn't mean it's not a threat or it's not that person. So they have to assess and analyze in a realistic setting. Do I shoot this one running at me, or is it a kid with a backpack? So those are the kind of things that we train so we avoid any type of mishap like that. And then through the artificial intelligence and the technologies and the weapon recognition, we can say, hey, it's one gunman. He's wearing a blue shirt with a purple backpack. So now that's what we're looking for. So now it minimizes potentially shooting a child. And then their weapons proficiency, adding the guardians to this, it's just going to help even more, taking out a threat as quick as we can and making sure that there's, like they say, no casualties of war or nobody dies just because, it was just a careless mistake or because of the chaotic environment. So constantly training, constantly doing these things and letting you know what's out here. It'd be nice if we could put you guys through something like this. You guys would be amazed on how this is so realistic. But I think it's a great program. It's a great thing that we're implementing, and we're just doing it to keep you guys safe, keep your children safe, keep this teachers safe, so they can focus on educating and not have to be looking over their shoulders.
And you kind of touched on this with that answer, but this is very much a multi-layer response to a situation like this. Like you said, you've got the actual SRO that's on the ground, you've got artificial intelligence, the crime line. So tell me, how significant is it to have all of those different resources working together in a situation like this?
It cuts down on response times. Most of the time, if you're a deputy or we've seen a lot of these videos, you hear the shooting and you're trying to pick up, is it echoing? Is it near the gym or is it in the gym? Is it outside by the gym? So now with artificial intelligence, the cameras, we can say, hey, it is in the gym. That's where we go. And then we zoom in and we can close off all other areas of access and make sure that the deputies that are responding understand what he's wearing. We have a live feed on our cell phones so the deputies can actually, oh wow, this is happening in real live time. So now they're also aware of what's going on. So if we can get this technology implemented in every school in Osceola County, it'd be phenomenal. But there's a cost, okay? It's a cost for safety and it's not cheap. There's some schools that are spending billions of dollars. We have the camera systems that are already attached into the schools through the school board. So we're feeding into those, which is a lot cheaper. And then we use a system through Fusus where we can add that artificial intelligence and access those cameras. So we just want to present this. Hopefully they'll like this technology. I don't see anybody that wouldn't. And then we can start prepping the commissioners from when we start asking for our yearly budgets. We can start cost sharing. The school could pick up some, the school board, KPD, St. Cloud PD, the Osceola County Sheriff's Office. And in return, I think our kids are going to be a lot more prone to learning, a lot more relaxed. The teachers are going to be more relaxed. And ultimately, it's going to prevent anybody from losing their life, and it's going to increase the response times if we do have a chaotic incident like this.
And you had mentioned guardians. Oh, sorry. How many guardians off the top of your head are in Osceola County?
Curtis, how many we got right now?
All the charter schools that we have, so I believe there's approximately 8 or 10. Not 100% on that, but all.
And those are just in the charter schools, but it's constantly growing. They're building charter schools everywhere, but we're keeping up with them and we're making sure that they're getting the same training that we get. So people can't say, oh, we're compromising a quality. I said, no, you You got a combat veteran who had 3 tours in Afghanistan, and now he was a law enforcement officer. And it's really not for me, the LEO stuff, and he goes into the private sector to do this because it's just what they want to do. So you're getting a very, very experienced person working as a guardian in most cases. So I think it's a plus and a win-win when we can get our combat veterans and put them to work, because that's the kind of environment that they really thrive in and work well in under those type of conditions.
Usted dijo que la inteligencia artificial solo va a estar en ciertas escuelas. ¿Qué va a pasar o qué seguridad van a utilizar en las escuelas que no van a contar con
No, vamos a
programa?
eventualmente intentar implementarlo en todas las escuelas, pero hay costos. So, vamos a empezar a implementarlos en una escuela para ver cómo funciona, y después hay que pedirle a los comisionados el dinero, y vamos a intentar dividir ese costo con la escuela y con la otra agencia de policía para que el costo sea más bajo para todos.
¿Cuántas veces al año hacen este tipo de entrenamiento?
Nosotros hacemos una semana entera antes que empiecen la escuela para que esté fresquecito, y después durante el año estamos constantemente entrenando escenarios así, pero más pequeñitos. Cada otro mes están disparando en campo de tiro para mantener su ¿cómo se dice? Su accuracy cuando están tirando. Eso es constantemente durante el año, pero antes de que empiecen la escuela siempre le damos esto una semana entera para que ellos se enfoquen y entran a la escuela fresquecitos con esto en la mente.
¿Y qué tan importante es que estos entrenamientos simulen la vida real, lo que podría pasar en una situación?
Es importante porque psicológicamente ese oficial se está exponiendo a la gritería, al ruido, y a la balacera, y esa pepa duele. So, si tú ves, el policía hace así porque es duro y suena como alguien disparando un arma de fuego. So, es muy importante exponerlos a ellos a un ambiente realístico, y son en las escuelas. All these trainings, we're doing them in schools. So we're familiarizing ourselves with a school. So it helps. It's a one-on-one, it's good to go to different schools and do them. And, those is algunas de las cosas que estamos haciendo para mejorar la
El año
seguridad.
pasado algunos estudiantes, el año pasado se recibieron informes de estudiantes que llevaron armas a los colegios. ¿Qué va a pasar con estos estudiantes este año en el caso de que esto vuelva a ocurrir?
¿En cuál escuela?
Bueno, a nivel general.
No sé.
¿Cuáles van a ser las consecuencias para los estudiantes que lleven un arma?
Porque yo todavía no he oído de alguien que lleve un arma de fuego aquí en mis escuelas. No sé si eso, yo no sé cuál es el protocolo donde eso sucedió. No te puedo dar una respuesta de eso. Pero implementando estas tácticas de seguridad, ojalá que se minimice también. Es el Florida State Statute, es lo que guía todo esto. So, si un niño lleva un arma de fuego a la escuela, hay consecuencias. Y todo eso lo van a trabajar con la escuela y traerlo a la atención de nosotros para los cargos adecuados.
Question for the superintendent.
Come on
Usually
up.
in situations like these, parents are finding out what's going on with their children on their phones. Can you talk about the cell phone policy? I'm imagining it's not going to apply in emergencies like this, but is there like a communication plan set out for how families can find out what's happening?
Sure. So we actually have 2 systems. One would be the Blackboard system, which is the automated call out. And we want to make sure that parents receive information in as real time as possible. Yes, the school district does have a cell phone policy in place. We do have exceptions for the cell phone policy. So our cell phone policy calls for cell phones to be away from first bell to last bell. And so we're operationalizing that this year. One such exception, though, for cell phone usage would be in instances of school-wide emergencies. And then at that point, we have instructed our school administrators, there's no enforcement of a cell phone policy in the midst of a school-wide emergency. We want students and we want their parents to be able to access each other in those types of circumstances.
Sure. You mentioned.
got no more for him?
Yes.
Jeez. All right, go ahead.
All
right. Okay.
You mentioned response time. Is there an average response time with the schools in the county, or do you guys have data on that?
Well, if it depends on what it is. If we're responding to a broken window call, it's going to be something that we don't put in as a priority. But if we're responding to a shooting, of course, everybody's dropping what they're doing and they're going to the shooting. And, it just depends on where the officers, the deputies are in that immediate time frame. It's just going to depend on how fast we arrive. We have sectors and zones where we keep them, so the response times are relatively quickly when things like that happen. In the schools, improving the response times is through technologies. Because you got a big campus. You got a deputy that's got to run from, say, one side to the other. And if he's running from here to here trying to find a threat, it's just that's when the casualties start stacking up. So now through the technologies, weapon recognition, and the cameras in real time, they can say, hey, the guy's right there. So instead of him running all around the bases, he goes directly to the threat. He's communicating on the radio. Our real-time crime center is communicating to dispatch. And any deputy that is in the immediate vicinity has access to those through his cell phone, and they can pull it up and see exactly where it's happening. And our deputies do make rounds, even though they're not school resource officers, and familiarize themselves with the schools. So it's a big joint effort to make sure we're on the same page to keep those response times as fast as we can.
Sheriff, do any of the Osceola schools currently have the AI weapon recognition?
No. In Central Florida, I don't think anyone's using this artificial intelligence weapons recognition technology. There's a couple schools in Florida that are just starting it this year, and so are we. I think there's some up north. It's relatively new. But like I said, it's really expensive. Technologies and artificial intelligence, when it first comes out, it costs some money. And I know a lot of people don't like that. But you know what? Put a price on a child and tell me, what are you willing to pay or not pay to keep your kids safe? So we can do what we can to gather these things and put these tools together to help keep your children safe. However, I can't cut the check. We depend on other sources, the tax base, and anybody else involved that's going to be budgeting our departments for the money. We could present it to you, but then the ball's in your court, and we kind of can just deal with what we have. It's not going to make us go any slower at any of this, but it could affect response times, and we're trying to speed that up so we get there as fast as we can.
So your agency has the technology, but the schools don't have it yet?
Yes, we have the technology, and we're actually installing some in some high schools here to start the process, and then we're going to present this to the board to see if they're all on board to approve this, and then we're going to look at costs and try to get everyone together so we can see how we can share this cost to ensure the safety of our children.
One more question, and then
Oh,
Could
he
you
had
give us
something.
an estimate of how much it would be to implement it in at least one school?
See, the one thing about this, it's good because we already have Fusus in a lot of the schools, and we already have a lot of that. So you're talking about maybe a camera might cost you $35. But then the system, the weapons recognition system, to identify this threat is going to be an additional cost. And that's what we're trying to work out now. So I can't give you those numbers yet until we got it in there and it's up and running. And then we're going to have that. Let me take a question from him.
This is Dr. Shin. Last night at the board meeting, the school board approved the SRO contract. I was going to get your thoughts on that and some of the highlights of it. And at the same time, I don't mean to load the question like potato, but there was some discussion on it about the guardians, and some school board members had a problem with that as what you call the backup to the backup. Like I said, some of the highlights of how that's going to work and how you feel about the guardians as the backup to the backup.
So thank you for the question. Last night, the board did approve the interlocal agreement between the school board and the three municipal governments regarding SRO coverage. We did have some discussion relative to Kissimmee Police Department. They did include, as a backup to the backup, a contracted guardian service. My experience with guardians is similar to that of the sheriff. When I was chief operating officer in Volusia County, we had guardians in the elementary schools. The guardians went through the same firearms training. They went through the same scenario training that the Osceola Sheriff's Department puts guardians through that serve our charter schools. So I'm comfortable with moving forward in the event that we do have a need with a guardian protecting and providing life safety for our schools. However, I will acknowledge that the relationships that are built between the school resource officers and the agencies that come behind those officers is critical to the overall picture of educating our kids about what it takes to be a responsible, law-abiding citizen.
Thank
Thank you.